Hello and welcome to Pune Times Mirror. I'm Prince Chaudhuri. Today we are very excited to have a very special guest, Dr. Devendra Jani, who's the founder of Bee, the LEAD initiative, changing human behavior towards native bee species, converting bee-fearing citizens to bee-loving humans, and knowing the secrets of the bee world. We are thrilled to have you here, Dr. Jani, and for this exclusive interview with us.
Thank you so much, Prince. Thank you for having me.
So let's get started. My first question is that you are called Mr. Bee of India. So what is the reason for that?
So I probably think it's my passion towards bees and all my projects and efforts towards bees. Till date, I've taken so many sessions with schools and colleges that I've been able to reach more than 20,000 youths, converted them from bee fearing to bee loving. I do these training sessions with farmers where I tell them how important bees are, what they should not be doing in the farming sector, so that it not only helps them get better yield, but also us citizens who are consuming food from that farm. So all of this put together, I think they've started addressing me as Mr. Bee, and that's how I enjoy the title of Mr. Bee of India.
So what inspired you to get into, the world of bees, if I may say so?
So, I think it's a personal story which I'm not sure I've been very vocal about. But unfortunately, I see every corner now have an IVF center. Back then, after 6 years of our marriage, we were still struggling to extend our family. And one of the things the doctor had advised me and my wife is to avoid the food which has a lot of pesticides and hormones sprayed on it, and avoid milk because it is said that the cows are also induced with a lot of hormonal injections so that they can produce more milk. And consuming that was somehow impacting, our balances of hormones in body, delaying the process of us extending the family. So the first thing we did was I tried to explore how can I grow things in my balcony, and whatever I can get and grow on my own. It was very easy to have mint and chilies, so the pudinika chutney was a normal thing at my house. But there was a problem with the tomato plant. I had a big tower of bottles I made on one top of the other, where I had put these saplings, and I used to count the flowers कि अरे इतने सारे yellow flowers आए हैं, इतने टमाटर मिलने वाले हैं. But they were drying, and that is called flower dropping syndrome. If the flowers are not pollinated by bees, they will not convert into fruit or vegetables or grains, and they will dry and fall. And I thought, what can be done? So I googled and I got a hack which you can use, which we'll say probably at the end of our podcast so that they can hold till then. But while I was doing this research and I found this hack, I also got to know that in Pune, our own city, we have a Central Bee Research Institute where there are scientists who are doing research on bees, who are doing testing on purity of honey, and who have an amazing library full of bees. It is Asia's biggest library on bees, which is in India and in our city, Pune. So I happened to visit them, and the amount of information I got, I started sharing that on my lunch table in the office. And they said, wow, this information is fascinating. Can you tell this to our kids in a school? Then I took sessions in school, and that's where Be the Leader, or what are the leadership lessons we can learn from bees, took shape. Okay. And this is how Be the Lead started. And then multiple projects started. Followed.
So tell me one thing. This, there is a lot of misconception about honey. So raw honey, processed honey. Can honey be put into hot water? Can honey be consumed with black tea, which people believe in early morning put that? Is it right? You can tell our audience that.
I am not an expert, but what our expert documentation in terms of Ayurveda says, if honey is heated or it is mixed with anything hot, it becomes Visha Rupi it is equivalent to consuming poison. Yeah, so it is best avoided to not heat honey or put it in any of the hot items, be it water, be it tea. And this is instead of doing better to our body, I think we are doing worse than doing any of this combination. At the same time, there is this new fashion of raw honey and unprocessed honey, and people are paying 5 times more or 2 times more than the normal honey. What is it? So as per government standards, if you have to pack anything, you have to process it. And if honey for processing is heated, then it loses all its nutrition or the real value it is supposed to be, and that is called processed honey. Raw honey is not heated, not just filtered honey and put. Now there is a scientific honey extraction process, because if you extract honey from a hive, there is a bee, there are eggs, there are larvae, there is all sorts of unwanted things which come in your honey, and just filtering will not help you. You know, you squeeze one larva, an egg or bee, and it spoils your whole honey, and therefore it is processed. But in scientific beekeeping, there is only a chamber where there are bees and honey, and a chamber where there is only honey. So if you extract honey from that, the quality of it is much more, and it does not need any processing, and that is unheated, unprocessed raw honey, and therefore it is valued more, and rather advised to consume it without putting it in any hot water or anything of that sort.
So tell me one thing. In fact, our viewers would definitely want to know is what important role does pollination actually play, in the food chain and, reproduction of plants and stuff like that. And what would happen if bees were to disappear from Earth?
So I am surprised that we've learned, all of us have learned in our science in our school days, but by the time we grow, we tend to forget the most important role. Bees are called the biodiversity queen for a few reasons. One is, the food we eat is all thanks to bees. Almost 70 to 80% of the food on our plate is because bees have pollinated those fruits we are consuming, those grains we are consuming, or rather the vegetables which we are consuming. So if they are not there, that amount of yield is going to decline or not be there for us. And again, in the farms, while we appreciate and know that how hard our farmers are working, it is equally important that these tiny bees be in the farm and visit and do their work. With the use of pesticides and spray, I think we're not just driving them away from the farms, we are actually impacting the whole cycle of that poison getting into the soil, going into the plant, coming into the yield, and getting into us. And unfortunately, we in India are now the cancer capital of the world. The number of patients we have in India is humongous, and the spectrum of the cancers we are having in India is equally huge. It is all connected to the food chain, and that is where bees are playing an important part. So our food is all thanks to bees. Also, the water which we are consuming, in earlier days, it was said the state of the river will be reflection of the state of the women in that village. Okay, and unfortunately, if you see the river of our city, or rather any city you belong to, it is so bad. It is not less than any drainage system, whereas it is a river
completely polluted.
Yes, all your sewage water and not what you see floating in this. So for purity of water also, the trees are playing a big role. They hold the water throughout the year, releasing it slowly, making streams and then rivers and then getting into the ocean. This cycle is also driven by bees, where they have a diversity of flora and fauna which plays a role in forming a jungle. They don't have these rules of pavement to have 8 feet पे एक पेड़ लगाओ, दूसरा पेड़ 8 feet पे लगाओ, सिर्फ बड़े पेड़ हो, no creepers, no bushes. They form the real forest, which lead to underlying water streams which are actually the right source of good water, drinking water, pure water. So our food and water is all thanks to bees.
But tell me another thing. Are bees vaccinated? One. And when the bees enter the hives, do they have a system in place where the germs or the bacteria or whatever by sitting on various thing are cleaned?
Yes, I am so fascinated, and I'm sure our viewers would be as well, that the queen is finicky about cleanliness in the hive. She's laying around 1,200 eggs every day.
1,200 eggs.
Yeah, so she wants the whole hive to be clean and sparkling. Otherwise, the whole health of the new generation is at stake.
Absolutely.
So they will ensure that when the bee is doing her pollination work and coming back, there are different bees who also visit the same flower. There is a lot of pollutant, all thanks to our vehicles which are throwing out. It is settling on the leaves and the flowers and in the pollen. So whenever they get into the hive, the first thing they are supposed to do is clean their legs by putting them on something called as propolis, which the bees make. They make it with raisins and a mix of all other things. It is antibacterial, antifungal, anti-cancerous, used a lot in our pharmaceutical industry. Propolis is what helps them do what we were doing during COVID times, sanitization. Putting our hands, ensuring that there is no pathogens there. At the same time, I'm equally surprised that social distancing, this word we heard only during COVID times, but bees have been following this since centuries. So if a bee is not well, she'll secrete pheromone and let all other bees in the hive know that don't come close to me, I am not well. Okay, once she recovers, she will give her antigens to the queen, which is probably the first dose of vaccination for the queen, because when she is going to lay a new batch of eggs, they will have immunity to this disease which the bee has just recovered. Wow. And when the batch comes out with larva stage, she will again give them these antigens. So that is the second dose of vaccination. So this new batch is more immune to what the bee has just recovered. This is amazing, that how they are ensuring their hives are clean and their immunity is strong without clearing any medical examination for say.
Okay, so the next question is, why is the queen the boss of the bees? Number one. And number two, why do the bees put the queen on a weight loss program?
So, this is very fascinating, that if the queen sees that there is less space in the hive, or this place where we live is not good for us. Firstly, I must urge all the citizens that if they see bees around, they must be thankful, because bees are a mirror to nature. They are telling you what you don't see, but they know that if you have a lot of air pollution around, they will not be there. If you have radiation around, you will not see radiation, but they will not like it. Okay, so they will not be around. If you have less of flora, fauna, oxygen in your area, they will not be there. If you have less water, less groundwater, more polluted water, they will not be there. So it is this queen who decides whether we should be there or not. And if she decides that we must move out, then she'll get some of her disciplines to be with her, and they will move out. Unfortunately, because she's laying eggs every day, she's having good food, a special food called royal jelly, which gives her the strength required to deliver so many eggs and continue to do the flawless work she's doing as the queen.
And stay healthy.
And stay healthy. So she's a little more chubbier and healthier than all other bees. Okay. So for her to fly back, they'll put her on a strict diet so that she reduces her weight, and then she will move out with half of her workforce, which is called swamping. And suddenly people say that, oh, हमारे यहाँ पे बहुत सारी bees आई हुई है, बहुत सारी activity हो रही है, ये क्या हो रहा है? So maybe somebody else has moved her out, or she's decided that the place where she was is not enough for her, or it's not good safe place for the bees to stay and expand as a family, so she's moved out, and therefore they put her on a diet. She is the boss. She decides that the hive is good enough, secure enough, how many soldiers we need to manage, how much food we need to ensure that during the strong winters, when there is less food in the hive, how do we manage all of it. So she is taking all these important decisions and laying her eggs and ensuring that the architects build the hive enough, because their wax hive is all based on the quota they have in honey. When they eat 4 kilo of honey, they can make 1 kilo of wax. So wax is more precious for the bees, you know. So all this planning, management, all of this is done by the queen. And that's how
and the worker bees are women, and I mean they're
so this is another suspense I keep sharing with all of them, that the foraging bees who get food, the architect bees who build the hive, the guard bees who secure, the nurse bees who take care of the babies, all of them are female bees.
all are females.
And there are drones which are male bees, and I jokingly say they do nothing in the hive. You know, realistically, even the feeding is done by the worker bees. Nice. So if there is less food in the hive, the worker bees, what they do is they stop feeding the drones, because it is the babies who are more important than these drones, who will do only one important work, which is meeting with the new queen. And unfortunately, they will immediately die after meeting with the queen.
After meeting the die.
Immediately die after meeting with the queen. And therefore, they have this leverage of not doing too much of hard work in the hive.
Okay, so if there is a hive in the society, in the building, what action needs to be taken, or what preventive action needs to be taken, so that the bees are not disturbed and attack,
and we are not.
Yeah.
So first thing first is we must learn and get this sorted, that we are sharing our space with others. Okay, I don't know why this is ingrained in humans ki ye meri jagah hai, you know. We are sharing with birds, insects, trees, you know, everybody around. So learn to share a bit, you know. And I also quote this example every time, that अगर एक कुत्ते ने आपको काट लिया, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप पूरे सिटी के सारे कुत्तों को पकड़ के उनको बाहर भेज दो या मार दो. Right. Okay, so first thing first is we have to ensure that we are sharing this space. If they are not dangerous species of bees around, because there is a bee, social bee called Apis florea, very small in size, they make a little tiny hive, they do their own work, they don't disturb everybody else, they don't have a big sting, so even if they sting, it's not very dangerous. So these kind of bees, I think we are okay to stay in harmony with, you know. But there are bigger bees which are called Dorsetta, and they're more aggressive. They make their hives next to windows, balconies, or on the terraces, and they are a little more aggressive. And you don't predict their behavior with pets in your house or with kids in your house, so you are a little more worried.
So anything can kind of agitate them.
So there are a lot of things which agitate them. First, I have a lot of friends in the city of Bangalore who stay in harmony with Dorsetta. Every year, these Dorsetta bee hives, they form in the balcony, and they are all migratory bees. They will move out. As the floral season moves between the state, the bees also migrate behind the flowers. Okay, but we don't want to share our space, so we want them moved away from that. So there are some bee friends who are experts, who were earlier moving the hives from the jungles, and they are the tribal experts. Now they've come to cities because the bees are migrating to cities. Cities are safe place for bees, you know. In the forest, there's so much of heat, so much of forest fire. They're coming to the closest part, which is villages, because villages are near forest. In villages, there is so much monocrop, so much use of pesticides and all of those practices, that they're moving out of villages to cities. And in cities also, we don't want to share our space with bees. There are headlines that elephants are coming from jungles and having issues in the city. The leopard coming from the jungles and having havoc in the city. But nobody is talking about human bee conflict, where so many bees are coming into our cities, and we are because we are getting so many calls of people saying that हमारे society के पेड़ पर मधुमक्खी ने छत्ता बनाया. वो पेड़ों पर ही छत्ता बनाएंगे और पेड़ उनका घर है. So we don't move bees if they are in the on the tree or in the terrace and the water tank, because these are still safer place. But if they are in your balcony, if they are in the window and they are reachable, one of our experts will come. He will smoke them, which is one of the safest technique to not kill all of them and move them gracefully.
Not harm them, basically.
Yeah. And there are Apis indica who live in dark areas. So they can be put into the box. You take the queen, all the bees will be in the box, and then they can move gracefully. So first thing first, let's not be afraid of them. Let's try to see if we can coexist with them. If there are aggressive beehives around, then we can try and move them ethically instead of getting a pest control and burning them all or killing them all.
So why do bees attack? One, how to avoid it?
Yes.
Two, third, a very important question is what happens when a bee stings a person?
Perfect. So most of us, like, we get agitated by few things which we don't like. Same is with bees, and I think most of us will resonate that if there's a lot of noise, I think nowadays every festival we come up with these dik chik, a lot of too noisy.
Very noisy. Yeah.
So bees don't like that, and most of the times when we are going to the forest area, to forts or to these treks, we're carrying our speakers with us. I don't know for what, and that can disturb bees. If you're smoking, that smoke will also disturb a whole hive and they will get agitated. Otherwise, if kids are a little nasty and you're throwing stone or you're doing some activity which is inviting bees to send a pheromone that somebody is attacking our queen or our hive, then they get agitated. If there are other animals around, lot of dogs barking, lot of activity around, then also they get agitated. If we are using lot of strong perfumes, thankfully bees have a much better sense of smell than us humans. You can choose the best of the brand for your perfume, but they don't like artificial fragrances, which is not good for our body and our nose as well. But you fall prey to all these advertisements, and if you are smelling too strong, then that also irritates bees, and they can attack or get aggravated. What should you do when all of them have gone mad? Okay, they can run much faster than you can. Okay, thankfully, if there is a water body around, yes, you can take refuge there in a water, try to because they can't swim. They are the best in everything else, but they can't swim. Next is, you can't run faster than them and they don't have a very clear vision. So if you don't do any activity, sit down very quietly, cover your nose and your ears, then you are much safer than doing activity, doing movements where they see some movement happening and they will follow you. Okay, what you have to do is, anywhere else they bite, I think it will swell and it is okay. But if they bite in your very important vital areas like your nose, ears and throat, it will, due to swelling, it will block your the pipe, so you can't breathe. So you will not die because of that allergic reaction, but you will die because you can't breathe. Your pipe is swollen, and you can do a test right away. How long can you hold your breath? Not more than a minute. But the swelling takes 10 minutes to get down, and because of that also most of us can.
You will not be able to hold your breath.
No, you cannot, and therefore try to ensure that you are not having these organs exposed. Remove your clothes and cover your vital organs. Everywhere else it is okay. The less movement or no movement you do, you are much safer than anything else. Now what happens is, if a bee has stung you, first there is also a myth that bees sting you or wasp sting you.
Exactly.
Okay, bees are very sensitive towards knowing that if they sting, she will die. A bee, when she stings, her stomachs rip off, and then she cannot survive for long without stomach.
Absolutely.
Okay, so she will not want to sting you unless and until you're too close to the hive, or you possess too much risk to the queen or the babies around. So wasp, unlikely, have a sting which is not like an arrow, which is like a bhala. So it can come out and in multiple times. So and wasp, anything in nature which is very colorful, indicates that it is poisonous. Frogs and wasps, which are yellow, blue, red, dark colors, they are very poisonous. Be away from them. How do you recognize that there is a wasp nest around you? Next to your windows or in the corners of your building, there are mud things, or there is a paper mesh thing. Because wasps don't have a wax gland, they don't produce wax. Only bees make hive of wax. So anything of paper mesh, mud around, it is all of these wasps which are very poisonous, and you have to be aware of them because they have more allergic reactions than bees to our body. If bee has stung you, the sting is live. Okay, it has pheromone which is calling all other bees, and in a hive there are 40 to 60,000 bees saying, where am I, here am I.
So that sends a signal.
So that sends a signal. So पुराने ज़माने में people used to say कि वहाँ पे आप मिट्टी लगा दो, कुछ पानी का कुछ लगा दो ऐसे, so that the pheromone goes away. And don't press the sting and remove it, because it is a potly which when you press, it is putting more venom in your body. So scrape it off with a key or something, which, so that you don't press it and induce more bee venom in your body. Okay, and like we've known, clean it or put mud over it, or put some leaves and press it over, so that that pheromone does not invite all other bees. And be alert that, wherever you're going out for a trek or at a fort, tell your friends not to carry noisy stuff with them, not to be too much of perfume with them, not to smoke. I understand the urge, it's very difficult to control, but when you are in this setting, don't smoke under a tree where there is a hive visible.
So, lastly, I would like to ask you, what else humans extract from bees besides honey? What else do they produce?
So, unfortunately, we have an urge of taking everything available in nature. But bees, apart from honey, which we all know of, the wax in earlier days are lip balms and lipstick and wax, butter paper, and all of those.
Cosmetics.
In a lot of cosmetics, all was all thanks to bee wax. They also collect pollen, which is a great source of protein. So you get these pollen balls which are from the bees. Propolis, which I mentioned a while ago, which is a very great medicinal product. So propolis is also extracted from bees. What is a superfood and most expensive globally is the royal jelly, which only the babies and the queen bee is fed. It is said that if that is consumed, I think your age reduces or you look much younger by 5 years or so. So this is another trend of consuming royal jelly. And I think that's bee venom. It is said that the arthritis medicines is made of bee venom. If 5 bees bite you, you will never get arthritis in your life, is what I have heard of. So I think there are a lot of these products we are extracting from bees, but the most important is the free pollination services which bees are doing, because of which we are getting our food. You'll be surprised to know, in China there is Hangzhou district which was known as the world pear capital. The pears in the world were shipped from there. Today, every morning, there are truck full of women going with a brush in the farms, and what they're doing is taking the brush from one flower to another flower, from one flower to, that is called manual pollination, because the farmers have abused the farmland and used so much of pesticides that bees have ran away from that place. And today, what was once the world pear capital is struggling to get a good yield, is struggling to get yield rather, which was all thanks to bees. And if we are happy that, oh, this is happening somewhere very far in China, in Himachal Pradesh, in our own apple orchards, farmers are now falling for manual pollination, because there also the activity of the bees is very less. So what we get for free, if we don't value it, it will go away very soon. So pollination is the best service we are getting from bees, and I think we should focus on that. I'm very, very pleased and impressed that our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has a honey mission project under the Khadi Gramodyog, where he's freely training farmers, where they are distributing bee boxes. We must encourage all the farmers to make the most of this opportunity, learn beekeeping, and ensure that we welcome bees into our farms.
So quickly, just the last question is, can you tell us a little bit about Bee Conversation, Be the Lead, Lunchbox, Tree Friend, and River Cleanup? If you can.
Perfect. So,
summarize that.
so I think for all of the citizens, it is very important to ensure that we value the river. Earlier, every day, every morning, people used to connect with the river and start their day from it. Unfortunately, in cities, people are not connected with the rivers, and therefore the state of the river is deteriorating every day. So every year we do a river cleanup drive, where we go and where we see our toothbrushes there in the river, my yoga mat is somewhere in the river, the plastic slippers are there in the river, the Lay's wrapper or the chips wrappers you have is in the river. So when you see all of it, you realize that, oh, I should try to either avoid using these or put them to the best use, instead of somewhere taking them and putting them in the landfill or it ending up in the river. It is equally important because bees don't have a good drinking water source remaining in the city area. That is for humans as well, but for bees it is equally important. And for food, I think they are struggling to get their food, where I have introduced a project called Tree Friend and Lunchbox, where we give bee friendly saplings to the school students. When they take care of it for 6 months, they get in return a lunchbox, a steel lunchbox, which is an award for them to take care of the bee friendly sapling, which gets the bees the food, and a token of appreciation for these kids, that they feel connected to the initiative they have done, and they enjoy the reward of the food from the bees and the lunchbox they have earned through this. I think the only thing I urge is to let our new generation not be afraid of bees, because you never know, this new generation has these future bee scientists who are going to shape this world and ensure we in India are the global food giant, or we have a food security at least for our citizens.
Dr. Jani, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. Pune Mirror extends its heartfelt gratitude to you for this exclusive conversation and making our audience aware of the world of bees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prince. Thanks for having me.